And we're back with this week's What to Read Next with the Tiny Bookstore. It's our favorite books for the week of July 20th, 2021. You can find a link to the full list of the books that we loved this week in our description. And if you don't mind, while you're there, if you can subscribe to our channel, and also if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like. First up this week, we have Bird Boy, which was written by Matthew Burgess and illustrated by Shahrzad Maidani. And it's an interesting little book. I think that it's perfect for kids who are 7 and under. And it has a kid who's new at school, and the kids kind of fashion him with a nickname that he doesn't really like, but he learns to embrace it and turn that nickname into a good thing. So by the end of the book, you see a kid who was first an outsider, and then he uses that nickname as a way to just kind of make friends with his new schoolmates. Next up, we have The Moose Fairy by Steve Smallman. Now, The Moose Fairy is another great back-to-school book. It really does teach kids lessons of acceptance and friendship. And although, it's a little sad as far as some of the ways that some of the kids in this group kind of ostracize the Moose Fairy. Of course, as a kid's book, it does have a very nice, happy ending where the Moose Fairy, who was once excluded, actually ends up being the hero. First up for our books for grown folks, it's actually a book that came out last week. It's called Don't Let It Get You Down, Essays on Race, Gender, and the Body by Savala Nolan. And even though it was originally released last week, I wasn't quite ready to talk about what I thought about it. I need to just kind of sit with it for a little bit. But ultimately, this book is about I know that intersectionality is one of the buzzwords that people are saying a lot nowadays, but I really think that Don't Let It Get You Down really gives you a great first-hand idea of what it's like to have these different parts of your identity and to see how you're treated because of that, and how that can actually have an effect on how you view yourself and how you move and interact with the world. So I know it made me think about my experiences as someone who is diverse and grew up in areas that were, primarily not, made up of people of color. And again, I think that it made me think about the experiences that I had and the experiences that I know that other people have had as well. So I do think that it is a great way to understand other people and why it is exactly that true acceptance does matter, and how, as far as, issues of race, gender, and size, the way that people treat you is really, it really has an effect on how you feel and how you interact with the world. That, as much as you may yourself not put yourself into these little boxes, you can't help but be treated the way that you're treated by others. So what I'm hoping that people will get from this is why it is important to treat people as an individual and to not stereotype and to not pass judgment just because of, certain identities that they may have. And one of the parenting help books that is just coming out on the 20th, it's called The Unlikely Art of Parental Pressure, a positive approach to pushing your child to be their best self by Chris Thurber and Hendrie Weisinger. And I think that where this book comes in very handy, especially this year, is that, after the COVID years and the perceived losses in academic potential that parents kind of see, I know a lot of parents are kind of at a loss as far as how they can help their kids just kind of get caught up and to achieve what they want. Now, don't get me wrong. This is something that has been an issue for a long time, but it seems like it's something that is, more concentrated now, and more people are becoming aware of that. So, what do you do to help support your child? Where do you find that balance between being, a helicopter parent who's stressing your kid out, or being someone who's just so permissive and uninvolved that you're not really motivating them at all? And what I do appreciate about The Unlikely Art of Parental Pressure is that it really does help tell parents the better approaches as far as helping to motivate their child, because it's not healthy to sit here and, just kind of be like, move, like, certain coaches of a certain, NFL team out in New England, and, also just not being that pushover Disneyland parent. And again, I think that these strategies are really good as far as trying to use the proper language and to have the right intent as far as, motivating your child and helping them to motivate themselves as well. And next up, we have No Study Without Struggle, Confronting Settler Colonialism in Higher Education by Leigh Patel, who happens to be a Pittsburgh certified author. She's on faculty at the University of Pittsburgh. And I do think that this book does have the potential to be the most controversial book that I like this week. But you know me, I can't help but love a little bit of controversy, especially when it's dealt with well. So we all know that in the news and in certain, right-wing media, there's been a lot of talk about critical race theory and systemic racism and what is appropriate as far as higher education and K through 12 education. What should kids know? What should kids be prepared for? How in depth should we go with that? And I think that what No Study Without Struggle really does a great job of doing is offering a different lens to view the way that students are treated, depending on, race and ethnicity as far as higher education is concerned. And it gives a really good insight as far as how you can identify the systemic racism that, one can argue is present in higher education in the United States. So I think that if you're looking for more information about, what critical race theory actually is, although Professor Patel, I don't believe that she identifies as a critical race theorist. I think that a lot of the analysis that she's doing here is very consistent with that particular school of thought. So whether you agree with it, you don't agree with it, if you're interested in learning more about the principles of it, and also just kind of, again, having that lens to view the different inequities that we're seeing in higher education, this book is a really great place to start. So it's been a while since I've picked a cookbook as one of my favorite new releases for the week, but I did find a cookbook that I loved. It's called the I Love My Air Fryer 5-ingredient recipe book, From French Toast Sticks to Buttermilk Fried Chicken Thighs, 175 quick and easy recipes by Robin Fields. And what I liked about this is that, again, the 5-ingredient part caught me. I'm one of those people where if I'm looking at a recipe and it has more than 5 ingredients in it, I'm kind of looking at it with some side eye, because that just sounds a little bit too complicated for me. But what I do love about this cookbook is that there aren't that many ingredients. The steps are pretty easy, and it gives you the opportunity to justify some of those gadget purchases that you may have made over the last however long. I have an air fryer. I love my air fryer. I like the fact that, you can prepare something in it without getting the whole kitchen hot, which is important, especially with the way this summer has been hitting us. But a lot of tasty recipes there. I loved the French toast one. It actually turned out better than I had anticipated. But I recommend that if you have an air fryer, to go ahead and buy this book. If you know someone who has an air fryer, I think this is a good idea for a gift, because it's a solid cookbook that doesn't break the budget. So last up for our favorite books of the week for adults, we have Drawing is for Everyone, Simple Lessons to Make Your Creative Practice a Daily Habit by Kateri Ewing. And I think that this is a fun little book. I truly believe in books that help develop other skills aside from just reading. So anything that you can get some hands-on practice, work on a hobby, just something to decompress that isn't necessarily completely about, thinking and processing words. And I think that this book is a good one. If you're someone who has always been interested in learning how to draw, I think that this book really does cover the fundamentals and, how to progress in your drawing very well in different types of media using graphite pencils, 2-colored pencils. It really does include just about everything. If you're someone who happens to have experience in drawing, I think that this book is a great way to just kind of get back into that, where you can use it as kind of like a guided practice if you already have that experience in drawing. It's that time of year where we're starting to see those Halloween and fall books start to trickle in. So if you're looking to get ahead and just kind of lock down those Halloween books in advance, I think that these 3 books are adorable and a good place to start. First up, we have Van Penguin, which was written and illustrated by Lucy Ruth Cummins. And I do think that it's an adorable little story about a, penguin who's being a little bit confused as a vampire. But like I said, very adorable, great for kids who are, I'd say, age 6 or younger. Next up, we have Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Daniel visits a pumpkin patch. This is a leveled reader, so as a grown-up, you can either read that to a younger child. Otherwise, it's a great way to start reading for kids who are, at those earlier levels. But of course, it's a wonderful little story about Daniel Tiger visiting, a pumpkin patch. The title kind of gives it away. But as far as the language of it, it is very simple, and it has words that, it's going to challenge early readers just a little bit, but not too much to the point where they would be frustrated. And last but certainly not least, we have Boo Ba La 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 by Sandra Boynton, which again, it's another Halloween themed book. You might be familiar with other works of Sandra Boynton. It's very consistent with that. If you already have some of her books, this is a great one to add for the collection. And that's it for our favorite picks of the week. Catch us next Tuesday for our next set of favorite new releases. But in the meantime, go ahead and follow us at Tiny Books PGH. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.